If you hand the bank an extra $100,000 today to pay down your mortgage, you aren't buying financial freedom. You are voluntarily incinerating nearly $144,000 in wealth over the next decade. Meet David and traditional Tom. Both are 41 years old. Both work similar project manager jobs in Atlanta, bringing in $98,000 a year. To the naked eye, they are economic twins. But there is a lethal discrepancy in their futures. David exploits the financial system's spread, while Tom falls for the equity trap. A psychological prison where you lock liquid cash into concrete walls that pay you absolutely nothing. While Tom sleeps soundly, knowing his debt is lower, he is silently bleeding capital. Over 10 years, paying down that principal instead of deploying it into the market means Tom pays a massive opportunity tax for a feeling of safety that isn't real. The banks are betting you'll choose Tom's path. They profit when we stay ignorant of the math, relying on our anxiety to reclaim capital they'd otherwise have to pay us to keep. Today on Jim Invests, I will decode the exact mechanics they hide using verified 2024 data, exposing why the safe choice is actually a wealth extraction scheme. And I'll hand you the 3-step framework to reverse the flow of money and escape the trap. The banking cartel loves when you pay off your mortgage. It sounds counterintuitive, right? We are taught that debt is the enemy and the borrower is slave to the lender. But in the modern financial architecture, that old wisdom has become a mechanism for extraction. Here is the mathematical reality they don't want you to calculate. The system is built on a spread, the difference between the cost of money and the return on capital. When you pay off your mortgage early, you are effectively accepting a guaranteed return equal to your interest rate. According to Freddie Mac's December 2024 data, the average 30-year fixed mortgage sits at 6.2%. So, every extra dollar you throw at the principal saves you 6.2%. That sounds decent until you look at what you are forfeiting to get it. Vanguard and Morningstar's December 2024 market analysis proves that the S&P 500 has delivered a 13.8% annualized return over the last 20 years. This isn't a theoretical projection. This is the historical cost of capital. By choosing to save 6.2% on your debt, you are voluntarily rejecting a 13.8% return on your asset. You are handing the system a spread of 7.6%, simply because you are afraid of the word debt. Let's break this down with a forensic look at David and Tom to see exactly how this wealth transfer happens. Meet David and Tom again. Both find themselves with a $75,000 cash surplus after a good year. Both have a $300,000 mortgage at that current 6.2% rate. Tom is risk-averse. He listens to the old-school gurus who scream about being debt-free. He takes his $75,000 and dumps it straight into the mortgage principal. He feels a rush of relief. His monthly payment doesn't change, because that's how amortization works, but he knocks years off the back end of the loan. He saves himself interest payments. He feels responsible. David is an investor. He looks at the data. He takes that same $75,000 and puts it into an S&P 500 index fund. Fast forward 7 years. Let's assume the market performs at its historical average. David's $75,000, compounding at 13.8%, has grown to roughly $185,000. Tom saved 6.2% interest on that $75,000 balance. The interest he avoided totals about $40,000. The discrepancy is lethal. David generated $110,000 in growth. Tom saved $40,000 in cost. The net difference? David is $70,000 wealthier than Tom. They had the same job, the same house, and the same cash. But because Tom surrendered his liquidity to the bank's ledger, he lost the equivalent of a year's salary. This is how the system extracts wealth from the middle class. They encourage you to bury your money in drywall and timber, where it cannot compound, while they take the liquidity you provide and earn that 13.8% for themselves. But there is another layer to this rigging that is even more insidious. Inflation. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reports December 2024 inflation at 2.9%. Inflation is essentially a discount on your future debt payments. But the value of those dollars drops every single year. In year 1, you pay the bank with valuable 2024 dollars. In year 20, you are paying them back with inflated, weaker dollars that have far less purchasing power. When you rush to pay off your mortgage early, You are voluntarily paying the bank with expensive dollars today, rather than making them wait for the cheaper dollars of tomorrow. You are bailing out the lender at your own expense. The system relies on you not noticing this. They rely on you looking at the raw number on the statement, not the purchasing power parity. When you combine the lost market returns with the loss of the inflation hedge, the cost of traditional Tom's strategy becomes catastrophic. Let's visualize this directly in your bank account. Imagine you have two buckets. Bucket A is your mortgage. It has a hole in the bottom leaking 6.2%. Bucket B is the market. It is filling up at 13.8%. The system convinces you to empty bucket B to patch the hole in bucket A. You stop the 6.2% leak, but you turn off the 13.8% faucet. The math is undeniable. You end up with an empty tank. But the trap isn't just mathematical. It's physical. The banks know that once you bury your money in your house, it is incredibly difficult to get it back. This brings us to the second mechanism of control, the liquidity crisis. Here is what they don't tell you. Equity is dead money. You cannot eat your home equity. You cannot use your home equity to pay for a medical emergency. You cannot swipe your front door at the grocery store when you lose your job. When you follow the traditional advice to pay down your home, you are converting your most flexible asset, cash, into an illiquid asset that requires bank permission to access. If you lose your income and need that money back, the bank will not give you a HELOC. Why? Because you have no income. That is the ultimate irony of the rigged game. The moment you need your equity the most is the exact moment the system locks you out of it. Let's look at the alternatives the system offers you for your cash. This is where the inertia tax comes in. The banking cartel. Laziness. Park $20,000 in a standard savings account at a major bank, Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and you earn the national average, FDIC. December 2024 data puts that average at a pathetic 0.39% APY. You give them $20,000, they give you $78 a year. But if you move that exact amount to a high-yield savings account, which Fortune reports is paying up to 5% in late 2024, you earn $1,000 a year. That is a $922 gap. That is $922 the bank extracts from you simply because you didn't click a button. They take your money, lend it out at 7% or 8%, pay you 0.39%, and keep the difference. This isn't passive income for you. It's passive extraction for them. They are betting you won't notice the difference until it's too late. Consider Maria. She is a 38-year-old nurse practitioner in Phoenix, making $110,000. She's divorced, supporting her mother, and the primary provider for her child. She faces a choice with her $20,000 emergency fund. Scenario A. She succumbs to the pressure to be debt-free and dumps that $20,000 into her mortgage. 2 months later, her mother has a medical crisis, requiring specialized care, not fully covered by insurance. Maria needs cash, but her cash is in the walls of her house. She applies for a loan, but the processing time is weeks and the rates are high. She ends up putting the medical bills on a credit card at 24% interest. She paid off 6.2% debt, only to take on 24% debt. She is trapped. Scenario B. Maria keeps that $20,000 in a high-yield savings account, earning 5%. When the emergency hits, she transfers the funds instantly. No permission slip needed, no interest paid. The liquidity saved her financial life. This isn't just Maria's problem. It is a generational shift. Pew Research confirmed in 2025 that 25% of adults aged 25 to 34 now live in multi-generational homes. The financial obligations of the average family are more complex than ever before. We are supporting parents, children, and trying to secure our own futures. In this environment, liquidity is not just a luxury, it is a survival mechanism. The banks want you illiquid. An illiquid population is a compliant population. If you have no cash, you cannot take risks, you cannot quit your job, and you must accept whatever terms they offer for credit. True safety is not the absence of a mortgage. True safety is access to cash. Comment below if you've ever felt house poor, where you have a lot of equity on paper, but no cash in the bank to actually live your life. I want to see how many of us are stuck in this trap. So how do we break out? How do we optimize for 2024 and stop the extraction? We need an execution strategy that prioritizes your wealth, not the bank's ledger. You cannot just go by feel. The system is engineered to make paying debt feel good while it makes you poor. You must go by the data. We are going to use a specific framework to calculate your break-even and allocate your capital. We will use the median household income of $83,730, verified by the U.S. Census Bureau, as our baseline. But this math works whether you make $50,000 or $500,000. Here is the three-step protocol to reclaiming your capital. Step 1. The liquidity shield. Before you invest a dime or pay an extra cent to the mortgage, you must fill your defensive reserves. This goes into a high-yield savings account. Do not use a regular bank. Find the 5% APY. This money is your forget-you money. It ensures that when life happens, you don't have to beg the bank for a loan. Step 2. The match and the market. If your employer offers a 401k match, that is a 100% return immediately. No mortgage payoff can beat that. Take it. Then look at the S&P 500 index funds, VOOFXAIX. With a 13.8% historic return, this is your wealth engine. You allocate surplus here until your projected returns exceed your debt costs. Step 3. The mathematical break-even. Only pay extra on the mortgage if the interest rate on your debt is higher than what you can earn in the market after taxes. If your mortgage is 6.2%, and the market gives 13.8%, you invest. If you have high-interest credit card debt at 22%, you pay that off immediately. The mortgage is usually the last debt you should attack, not the first. Let's run this calculation for Monica. She is a 45-year-old school administrator in Philadelphia, earning $87,000. She is a single parent, risk-averse, and saving for her daughter's college. She has a $500 monthly surplus. If Monica uses the equity trap method, she sends that $500 to the bank. Her net worth grows slowly, linearly, at the rate of her mortgage interest, 6.2%. If she uses our optimization method, she splits it. First, she builds her WISA to 6 months of expenses, earning 5%. Then, she directs that $500 into a low-cost index fund. Over 15 years, the compound growth on that investment doesn't just pay off her house. It builds a surplus that can fund her daughter's education. By keeping control of the capital, Monica creates options. If she pays the bank, she destroys her options. The psychological hurdle is the hardest part. The system has trained you to see the mortgage balance as a burden. You have to retrain your brain to see it as a tool. A mortgage is the cheapest money you will ever borrow. It is a hedge against inflation. And it is the leverage that allows you to control a high-value asset while keeping your cash free to work elsewhere. We have exposed the 3 layers of the trap today. First, we decoded the mathematical reality. The 7.6% spread between market returns and mortgage costs that the banks want you to ignore. We showed how inflation at 2.9% actually works in your favor as a debtor, discounting what you owe over time. Second, we revealed the liquidity crisis. How the equity trap turns your useful cash into dead money that you can't access in an emergency, leaving you vulnerable to high-interest predatory lending. Third, we laid out the execution strategy, the hierarchy of capital that prioritizes liquid cash and high-return investments over low-yield debt payoff, ensuring you own your wealth, not just a deed to a house you can't eat. Tonight, look at your mortgage statement. Stop seeing it as a monster to be slain. See it as a low-interest hedge that allows you to build real wealth elsewhere. Within 30 days, move your savings from a 0.39% zombie account to a 5% high-yield account. Stop donating your interest to the bank. Make this your system. They are betting on your silence and your fear. Let's make them lose that bet. If you are done being a source of passive profit for the banking cartel, subscribe. Next week, we are going to tear apart the renting is throwing money away myth with 2024 data that might make you sell your house. Join the resistance against algorithmic extraction. This video is for educational purposes only, not personal financial advice. All data is from Vanguard, Morningstar, Freddie Mac, BLS, and the FDIC as of December 2024. Products mentioned are examples, not recommendations. Consult a licensed financial advisor for your specific situation.